Hello guys, gals and gamers, and have you ever thought about the ancient meme regarding The Legend of Zelda? What if Zelda was a girl? And I actually want to discuss that meme. Tears of the Kingdom just came out and it's amazing, and that's why this video is delayed a bit. And that just got me in a Zelda mood again. I love the franchise, but I rarely play it because new games come out so not often. And now with Tears of the Kingdom, I'm willing to spend like 500 hours on it again. So I want to do something Zelda related. And then I was reminded of this beautiful work of art. What if Zelda was a girl? And this is, first of all, a funny meme when you saw it the first time. Now, when you have seen it 100 times, it's not so funny anymore. And there is an interesting discussion to be had about, well, that picture. And I want to have that discussion right now. And the main joke behind, of course, the image is that the game franchise is called The Legend of Zelda. So you would assume that the main character of the franchise would be Zelda, but that is not the case. And some people think that the protagonist, which was unnamed in some of the games, not all of them, in Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, it's just Link. And a lot of games also have you meeting Princess Zelda, which obviously makes it that I am not Zelda, I'm not playing as Zelda. But still, people have been a bit confused about the naming conventions. Yeah, and it doesn't really make sense. I mean, it is The Legend of Zelda. Why is Super Mario Brothers named Super Mario Brothers and not Bowser's Adventure? Bowser's in the game as well, you know? But yeah, people are confused about the naming convention. People think that Link, the main character, is called Zelda, and they think that the main character is Zelda, but that is not the case. And what I want to discuss, like, why is the franchise called that? And what would actually change about the franchise if indeed Zelda was a girl, or the main character would be Zelda, that would be a girl? How much would that change history? So the first thing is, why is the franchise called that? Well, there are many stories about it. Zelda, Princess Zelda, is named after Zelda Fitzgerald, who is apparently a American novelist who I've never heard about. Also just painting and just other stuff, probably. I'm not a historian. But Miyamoto liked the name, Zelda. It had a special ring to it, and it sounds... It's a very cool sounding name, let's be honest. So that's why they named Zelda Zelda. It sounds very mystical, I guess. And they wanted to call their game The Legend of something. And they already named Link. Legend of Link doesn't sound as good as The Legend of Zelda. So that's basically the short story here. They just named the franchise after Zelda because it sounds cool. That's the reasoning. It was video game development in the 80s. Don't look too far into it. There's no huge lore reason for it. But it sounds cool. And I agree. But how would the franchise now change if the main character would actually be Zelda? First of all, I'm not gonna cover gameplay stuff because it doesn't affect gameplay in any way. Gender is meaningless when it comes to gameplay, basically. And I'm not gonna discuss lore because that would just be a whole new rabbit hole. What I want to discuss is just the marketing and the general success of the franchise. Would it go anywhere? Because while you think now that, okay, change the gender of the main character, who cares? Some people think that way. And I would agree now. It doesn't really make any sense. We have plenty of female-driven games nowadays, but emphasis on the word nowadays. Because back in the day, video games were mostly marketed for boys. And if you're a young boy looking at video games to buy in the 80s or wherever, but before the 2000s, whatever, you are not gravitated towards female driven games, because that's just, well, at least for the most part, that's not how things go. If you are a young kid, young boy, you search for role models, you search for other men who look cool, and you can play as that man and do cool things or whatever. And if your entire medium is, targeted towards one gender, then those people of that gender will be more highlighted in that medium. Make sense? Yeah? No? Hopefully it does. And you might think to yourself, okay, what about the other female protagonists of the time? Not too many. And in the cases of something like Metroid, where the main character is Samus, who is a woman, but infamously, you couldn't find it out when you were playing it. Samus was in a huge mech suit, and the gender was only revealed after you had beaten the game. And only then, sometimes, I think. Not always. So, I think with Metroid, the developers were thinking, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you play as this space warrior during the entire game, and then, plot twist, they were a girl. So, having Zelda, with The Legend of Zelda being front and center, a woman as the protagonist, might be a marketing risk. Could it be a success? Definitely. But it would be more of a risk. And if you can't get your eventual game to start rolling, if The Legend of Zelda with a playable Zelda in the first one would not be a success, then that could make The Legend of Zelda as popular as something like Metroid, or even less. And you might think, yeah, Metroid, it is popular, it's a good franchise. It's not on the same level as The Legend of Zelda, which has sold like hundreds of millions of copies. A Metroid game, I don't think has ever sold over 5 million copies. Another question is, why haven't we had Zelda in a more prominent role ever since, well, that could have happened? We have seen playable Zelda a few times. I think she has been playable in like spin-off games, Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. She was also briefly playable, and then of course on the CDI, which we are not gonna talk about. We'll not talk about that. But I think the reason why we have not had a playable Zelda since, even though I would like that, is just because the franchise has kind of established like the roles of the three main characters, Ganondorf being the evil guy, then Link being the brave soldier, and then finally Princess Zelda, which is the princess who helps along or needs to be found or helped and has been kidnapped or whatever have you. They all have their roles. And have they played with those roles before? Well, yes. Something like Sheik or Tetra in Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time. Then in Breath of the Wild, Zelda defeated Ganondorf, basically. And Zelda has been very powerful before in other games as well. Link is there to help, so she is indeed a powerful lady, whatever incarnation of Zelda we're talking about. So yeah, there's definitely roles for each one of them. But I do hope they kind of break this out. Even though they are always like descendant of the original Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf. I would like to see Link be the bad guy, Zelda being playable and teaming up with Ganondorf or something. I think it would bring a fresh new take on the entire franchise and probably would not affect gameplay that much. Something like that. We don't have to play with these roles so much as these are the roles, but we can do something a bit more creative with them. So, yeah, I do wish Zelda was a girl. I do wish Zelda was playable, and I do wish in the future games there would be a bit more story, being a bit clever with the story when it comes to these characters and how do you use them. But I want to know what are your thoughts on this a bit rambly video. I agree it's a bit rambly, but I want to know what your thoughts are, and let me know in the comments below. And I will see you guys next time. I'll just go back to playing Tears of the Kingdom. Okay, bye bye.